Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. In today's video, we'll be building an exciting beginner-friendly cloud project on how to deploy a simple Node.js application on an AWS EC2 instance using Terraform to automate our deployment processes. Without wasting much time, let's quickly look at the architectural overview of this project. Here is the architectural diagram of our project. Before we dive into the architectural diagram, let's first of all understand the tools we will be implementing today. The first tool is Terraform. Now, Terraform is an open source infrastructure as a code tool developed by HashiCorp. Now, this Terraform allows us to define, provision, and manage infrastructure resources across various cloud providers and on-prem environments using a high-level configuration language called HashiCorp. Also, we'll be using GitHub to host our code. So our simple Node.js application will be available on GitHub, and we'll be using Git as our version control. For infrastructure, we'll be utilizing AWS for our infrastructure. Remember, I said earlier that Terraform is an infrastructure as a code platform. Okay, so we will be using this Terraform to provision this our infrastructure, right? Now, for AWS, the services we'll be using in AWS include an IAM. So IAM means Identity and Access Management System. And also, we'll be using Amazon EC2, which is a cloud compute. If you want to know more about Terraform and IAM, kindly go to my detailed Medium article. I've documented what Terraform is, the use case, and also what an IAM is, right? So for the flow of the project, we'll be using Terraform, okay, to deploy our Node.js application, which is on GitHub, inside an AWS EC2 instance, okay? Now, you can see that I said earlier that the Amazon EC2 is a compute system, okay? It's a service in AWS that provision compute, which could be your Linux operating system, your Windows operating system, or your Mac operating system, okay? But for this demonstration, we'll be using Ubuntu, which is a Linux distro, okay? Now, for our instance also, we are going to set up a security group. A security group in AWS simply means firewall. And in this firewall, we'll be allowing SSH and HTTP permissions, okay? So for SSH permission, SSH will allow us to remotely access this instance, all right? While HTTP permission will allow us to visit our Node.js application, which will be running on port 3000, all right? Without wasting much time, what you'll be achieving in this project include how to create and set up an IAM user in AWS, how to install, write, execute Terraform configuration files, and finally, how to SSH into AWS EC2 instance and start up a Node.js application. Without wasting much time, let's get started. First, let's start with the installation of Terraform. So we just head over to Google and search Terraform install. Terraform install Windows. So click on the first link. So this is the official documentation of how to install Terraform in various operating systems. Okay, so we have Windows, we have Linux, and we have Mac installation guide. So quickly, let's click on binary package. Okay, so for binary package, we have Terraform installation for OS, for Windows, and also for Linux. So for this tutorial, we'll be using Windows because obviously the operating system we are using today is Windows. Now, there's one thing I want you to note here. There are two binaries for Windows. Okay, so this binary is dependent on the processor your Windows is running on, right? So for this 386 is for those Windows that are running on Intel processor, okay? While AMD 64 are for Windows that are running on AMD processor. So to know which processor your Windows is running on, you just quickly press Windows arrow, okay? So this dialog box will pop up Then next, you search for MS Info. Okay, select MS Info 32, then you press OK. So this will give you a system summary of your Windows computer. Okay, so we just really go to processor. So this is processor. So I'm currently using Intel. That means I'm going to be installing this particular binary. Okay, but if you check and you're running an AMD processor, okay, then you should install this binary. So let's click on download. Perfect. So you can download it on any directory. Okay, so for me, I'll be downloading it on my download directory. Click on save. Perfect. So my Terraform has been downloaded successfully. So let's quickly check it. Go back to my download directory. Perfect. So look at, this is Terraform, but as you can see, it is zipped. So next, let's unzip this folder. Let's unzip it. So we are going to click on extract all. So for clarity, what I did was I just right click on this folder, then I click on extract all. Okay. Yes. Then I'll select my destination. So I'll still leave it on the download directory. Okay. Then I'll click on extract. Perfect. So this is our Terraform folder. So next you want to do is to rename it. So it's not necessary, but just for clarity, okay? Just for clarity. So you want to rename it to just Terraform, okay? Then you click on enter. Perfect. So now we want to add this part to our environment variable on our Windows. So the next thing you need to do is to right click on this folder. You click on copy as part, okay? Then next, you go to your search and search for environments. So edit the system environment will pop up. You click on it. So a dialog box will come up. So another way to get this thing is also to go to your control panel. You can also see your system environment on your control panel. But for simplicity, I just search it out, all right? Next, we want to click on environment variables, okay? Now, this is what we are interested in. We are interested in system variable. Under system variable, we are going to click on parts. Then you click on edit. Now, this is where you're going to add the part you've copied, the Terraform part you copied. So you click on new and you click on Ctrl V to paste. So next, we want to remove this double quotation mark, okay? Then you click on OK, OK, OK. Perfect. So let's confirm if our Terraform has been installed successfully. So we'll click on, I'm going to open my badge. I'm going to open my badge terminal. So you can use any terminal of your choice to confirm this. I'm going to move clear. Then I'll write Terraform version. Enter. So as you can see, Terraform has been installed successfully on our system. So moving forward, let's create and set up our IAM user. Remember I explained earlier what an IAM is. Just to recap, to understand more about IAM, I have written a detailed article about this project, and on that article I've explained what Terraform and also what an IAM is. Okay, so before we set up and create an IAM user, you will need to have an AWS account. Okay, so if you don't have an AWS account, just quickly head over to Google and write AWS free trial. So AWS offer free trial accounts for demonstration purpose. Okay, so I'll advise you to create one if you don't have one. Okay, so you just quickly click on this free cloud computing service. Okay, then you click on create a free trial account. Right, so once you click on this create a free trial account, yeah, a sign up will come out. So you just fill in your email address, your account name, verify your email, and follow the rest of the information that you've been asked. Okay, but for me already, I already have an AWS account. So I'll just quickly log into my own AWS account. I'll just go over to Google and search for AWS console login. Perfect. So click on sign in. So I want to log into my root account. Okay. Sign in using root user email. Okay. Perfect. So once you create an AWS account and you log in, you will see something like this, just like what you're seeing on my screen. Okay, so when you create an AWS account, you'll be given a root account. Okay, for best practice, it's not always good for you to use this root account. Okay, for practice, it's not good to use this root account to deploy resources or to manage services in your AWS account. It's always best practice for you to create and set up an IAM user for your project. Okay, so for this project, we'll be creating an IAM user, right? So we'll be using the IAM service. So quickly come to this search and search IAM. So click on IAM. So we want to create a different user that we'll be using for this project. Okay. Now we'll click on users. So as you can see, I already have a user, all right? But for demonstration, I'm going to recreate another user. So you see how to create a user in AWS. Now I want you to know that in AWS, it is best practice to always add users to group, okay? So this means you need to create a group first, give the group a certain permission, and add the user to that particular group. So this helps you to manage your users. So imagine you have 10 users in AWS and each of these users have different functionalities, okay? Now, if you want to manage all of these users individually, at some point, you might not be able to track what permission each of these users have, okay? So it's always good for you to create a group, all right? Assign a permission into a certain group and add the user to that group. So for this demonstration, we'll be creating an admin group, okay? So we are going to create a group called admin. I've already done this here, but I'll just resimulate it for you for demonstration purpose, for you to also know how to do that, okay? Sorry, let me just quickly delete this one. I don't need it. Perfect. So we'll create a group. We click on create group, right? So let me call this group admin. Admin. Let me quickly call this group admin 2. So attach permission. So we'll give this group administrative privilege. You give it full access. So this is where you attach permission. So there are different kind of permissions you can give to a user. Okay. So, but for this user, we want this user to have full administrator's access. Okay. So if you read the description here, you see that this permission provides full access to AWS service resources. Okay. So this is important because once we've created this group, okay, we can, if we want 2 to 3 admins, okay, we can now add those users to this group. All right. So click on create user group. Invalid character, sorry. So we don't need to use space. You can see it here. These are characters that are accepted. So our group is creating. So perfect. We've successfully created this admin group. All right. Next, we want to add the new user we'll be creating inside that group. Like I said earlier, I already have a user, okay? But just for simulation purpose, for you to know how to do it yourself too. So click on user, then click on create user. So I'll name this user Shegun Test. So after that, I'll click on this box, provide user access to AWS Management Console. So we want this user to have access to AWS Management Console. So where we are currently is an AWS Management Console. So we want to click on, I want to create an IAM user. Okay, we are creating an IAM user. Remember I said it's not best practice for you to use your root user in provisioning AWS resources, okay, or interacting with AWS services. So it's best practice for you to create and set up a different IAM user and assign permission to that user based on the group. So you don't create users independently. You create group and attach a user to that group, all right? So once you've attached that user to that group, the user automatically will inherit the privilege of that group. So if, for instance, like what we demonstrated, we gave the group an admin privilege. So it means this user will be adding to that group will also have what? Admin privilege. Perfect. So click on custom password. So you create a custom password. So I'll create mine. To make sure the password you're creating is something you can remember, user must create a new password. So we don't want this. We don't want this user to create a new password, okay? Then we'll click on next. Now, this is set permission, okay? So this dialog box is asking you what permission do you want to give your user. Okay, just like I said, you can add user to group, which is best practice, which is the recommended one. Okay, so you can see it. We recommend using groups to manage user permission by job function. Okay, so if you have developers should be added to what? Developers group. Okay, so you give permissions to what developers should have access to in a group and add all the developers to that group. It makes it very easy to manage those users. Okay, so we also have different other options like copy permission. So you can copy this permission from another user. Okay, so you can click on this guy. So it's automatically this new user will copy the permission of this new user. Okay, or attach policy, which is not best practice. Okay, so you can see it here now. Then add the user to appropriate group. So it's always good to add users to what? Appropriate group. So we'll stick to the most recommended one. Okay, now we'll click on this admin group because we already gave this group what? Administrative privilege. So we want our user to have administrative privilege. Okay, perfect. So for permission boundary, we don't need to set permission boundary. Okay, so we click on next. So go to previous. So it's always best practice that whenever you're provisioning any resources or you're deploying any resources in AWS, it's always good for you to double check what you're doing, okay? To be sure that you're actually doing the right thing. And all selected parameters are what is expected of you to select. Okay, perfect. So we'll click on next. Then we'll click on create user. Perfect. So our user has been created. This is our new user credentials. Okay, so you can also download the CSV file. So you click on download. You can download it in any directory of your choice. You go to downloads. So let's just take a look at what this file looks like. Perfect. So this file will contain your username, your password, and also the URL to sign in. So all you need to do is just to copy this out. And you can also leave it here. You can also leave it here whenever you want to access your user account. You can just click on this link and download it. At the end of this video, I'm going to revoke this account, okay, because my password is already showing. So on no account should you allow anybody to see your password, okay. Password are meant to be secret, all right, but for this video I'm showing mine here just to show you for demonstration purpose, okay. So the next thing we want to do is to log out from this account. So let's copy this link. Let's copy this link. So these are console. This is the link we are going to use in accessing the new user we created. Okay, so we'll copy the link. Let's log out. So we can paste the link. So we give it the username. Username here is Shegun Test. Click on sign in. Perfect. Now that we have our account set up, let's quickly start the deployment process. But before that, here is the simple Node.js application, which is hosted on GitHub. Okay, so what you just need to do is to fork this repository. So as you can see, I can't fork this right now because I'm the owner of this repository. But on your own end, you need to fork this repository. So forking the repository, it makes you to have a copy of that repository. Okay, so when you fork a repository, it means you have this copy for yourself. Okay, so whatever you're doing on it will be for yourself, right? So the next thing you need to do is, after forking this repository, you click on code, under HTTP, then you copy this link. Next, you head over to Git badge and clear, then do git clone to clone this repository. Perfect. So let's cd into this repository. Cd. Okay. So as you can see, I'm in my main branch. Okay. Let's clear the screen, ls. So this is the simple Node.js application we'll be deploying in a moment. But first, let's first of all have, we are going to be using Terraform to automate the deployment process, okay? First of all, let's have an overview of what it looks like in doing this deployment manually. So remember, we are using EC2 for our computes. So because I've used EC2 earlier, that's why you can see it on my recently visited. But on your own end, you just go to search and search for EC2. Okay, you click on EC2. You click on launch instance. I want to use this to explain something. Now this is how you launch an EC2 instance, okay? So the idea is for us to create an EC2 instance, okay, and deploy this simple Node.js application, which is on GitHub, into this EC2 instance, okay? But first of all, let's understand how this EC2 instance works, okay? So this is, for a quick start, when deploying an EC2 instance or when setting up an EC2 instance, you have different operating systems you can choose from, okay? So you have Amazon Linux, you have Mac OS, you have Ubuntu, which is a Linux distro, you have Windows, and other Linux distro, such as Red Hat, SUSE Linux, and Debian, okay? So if you scroll down to advanced details, you see user data. Okay, we are going to provide our command. How can I deploy a Node.js application on this EC2 instance? Okay, but now we'll be using Terraform to do all the deployment process. So for this example, we'll be using Amazon Linux. So quickly, let's go back to our simple Node.js application that we've cloned. Okay, so you head over to VS Code. Yeah, we head over to VS Code. So the next thing we want to do is we want to write our Terraform configuration file. So on this our application, we can just create a new folder. You click outside, then click on this folder icon and name it Terraform. Okay. Now in this Terraform folder, let's create our Terraform file. So the first file we want to create is main.tf, which will consist of our main configuration. Next one is our variables, variable.tf, and finally our outputs.tf. Okay. Now, if you notice, while I was creating the Terraform file, you can see Terraform symbol automatically appearing. So this is because I've activated the Terraform extension for VS Code. Okay. So to do that, you just go over to extension on your VS Code, and on the search extension, you search for Terraform. Now you pick this one, Archicop, then you install it. So once you install it, the extension is automatically enabled. Okay, so go back to our file. So now, in my previous shot, my first shot, I spoke about documentation. Now you don't need to cram this configuration file. Okay, you just need to understand this configuration file. All right, let's start writing our Terraform configuration file. We don't need to cram anything here. Okay, when you're writing a Terraform configuration file, okay, one of the things you need to put in mind is to understand what you're trying to achieve with Terraform. Okay, I remember in this project, what we are trying to achieve with Terraform is to set up an EC2 instance, okay, and deploy our simple Node.js application on it, right? So first thing first, we want to head over to Google. So you just search Terraform providers, AWS. So because the infrastructure we are trying to access here is AWS, okay? So search, click on the first link, perfect. So we copy this example, okay? This is an example usage. So you can choose your provider here, say use provider. So perfect, we're using AWS. So we just copy this, okay? Then go back to Terraform, right? So for my region, you can see from the example, for the region is US East 1. So this is depending on your region, the region you are on your AWS account. So if you go back to your AWS account and you click on this region here, this is the region. So as you can see, I'm on US East 1. So if peradventure, after creating your account, you find yourself in Ohio, which is US East 2, or any of this region, then you quickly specify that here. Okay. Now we've specified our region, we specify our provider, and also we've configured our AWS provider, right? The next thing we want to do is to create our our web server, all right? So which is our EC2 instance, all right? To save our time, I'll just copy it somewhere. Perfect. So next thing is to create an EC2 instance with the name web server, right? So for the AMI, you just go to your instance. This is the server we want to set up. So we'll copy our AMI ID, copy it, and replace it here. All right. So we are using T2 micro. You can also see it here. So we'll stick with T2 micro, right? Perfect. So this is our user data. Okay, this is our user data I explained earlier. As you can see, the user data is under your resources, okay, because we are trying to set up an AWS instance here, okay, where we'll be deploying our simple Node.js application on it, right? So this is our user data, and this is a bash script, right? So the first thing, we are updating the system. This command, remember I explained to you that user data are used to configure or used in installing or setting up resources or application directly on your EC2 instance before launch. Okay, so it means when you launch your EC2 instance, these scripts are run automatically before the instance is launched. Okay, perfect. We are using Git as our version control here. So I've cloned this repository. Okay, so what this line of command does is it clones this Node.js application. Okay, and it creates a folder inside. All right, then we cd into that folder and we install npm. Okay, perfect. So the next thing is we want to give our instance access. All right, so we want to create an inbound and outbound access to our instance. So remember, we need port 22 for SSH connection. Okay, perfect. So the next resource is our security group. All right, so this is our security group, right? So for ingress, right, so we want to give access to port 3000 and also port 22 for SSH connection. All right, so with this, our main.tf file has been set up. All right, so what this main.tf, let me just start from the beginning. What this main.tf file does is, first of all, we specify our AWS provider. Then next, we create an EC2 instance with Terraform. So Terraform, we've specified that our provider is AWS. Then we create our EC2 instance, all right? Then inside our instance, this whole script is to deploy our simple Node.js application from GitHub. So on your own end, you replace this link with your clone, the repository you've cloned, okay? You replace it with the link of the repository you cloned, which is your own repository, okay? Then moving forward, we've also set up a security group, right? And in the security group, we've given permission to port 3000 and port 22, which is for SSH connection, and this is for HTTP access. All right, perfect. Then for our egress, we allow all outbound traffic. Okay, so we want everybody to have access to this our application. All right, perfect. So next, we have our main.tf now properly set up. Okay, but now this main.tf does not really know our AWS account. Okay, it doesn't have direct access to our AWS account. So what we need to do is we need to create an access key, okay, that will be able to tell Terraform to be able to have access to our AWS account. So let's quickly go back to our console. So we go to this, then we click on security credentials. All right, then we'll scroll down, then we'll click on what? Create access key. Okay, as you can see, use access key to send programmatic call to AWS from the CLI, AWS 2 for PowerShell, AWS SDK, and so on. Okay, so with this access key, we can be able to automatically connect to our AWS account or to our AWS resources using Terraform. Okay, so let's click on create key. So for here, we are going to click on command line interface. I understand. Remember, we are using it on the command line. Okay. Then we are going to click on next. You can give this a tag, but I'll leave it empty. Then click on create key. Okay. Perfect. Sure. So this is our access key. All right. Let's download the CSV file to see the content, or we can also click on show to also see the content of our access key and our secret key. After this, at the end of this tutorial, I'm going to deactivate this access key. So these are secrets, and you don't want to leave this public, right? So click on download. Yes, so access key. Click on save. So let's open this key and see what it looks like. First of all, let's close this one. Perfect. Perfect. So this is our access key, and what this is our what secret key. So let's go back to Terraform. All right. So it is best practice that whenever whenever you're writing a configuration file, it is best practice not to write the credentials inside your configuration file. Instead, you create an environment variable for that. Okay, so let's access key. You see, we already have an auto completion var dot access key. Let's call it AWS access key. Okay. Secret key. Let's seed into Terraform. Okay. Okay. Let's do the same for the secret key. Perfect. Now, finally, let's create our SSH key. Okay. So let's go back to our EC2 instance. So your SSH key helps you to have remote access to your AWS compute instance. Okay. So under key pair, we need to create. So we'll go to key pair. So as you can see, I've already created a key pair. But to create a new key pair, you just click on create a new key pair. Yes, so you give your key pair name. Let's call this Terraform auth. Okay. Then you click on create key pair. So it will ask you to download the file somewhere. So let's download it on our download directory. Okay. Click on save. So let's go back to our Git badge. So we want to do the same for our key pair. So this will help us to have remote access, which is SSH access to our AWS instance. So let's do the same for key name. So the name of the key is Terraform auth. So write Terraform auth. Perfect. So let's go back to our VS Code. So if you notice, you can see that this our configuration file is giving us error here. It's showing us this red stuff. So this is because we just created variables. Okay. So now let's go back to, let's now move forward to our variable.tf. Okay. So the first variable we created is, so you just press tab. If you notice, it showed me something. I just pressed tab to get this autocomplete. So the first variable we created was AWS what? Access key. Okay. And now for the access key, the description, let's just give this a description. Okay. Then the type. What is the type? Is a string. Then sensitivity. So sorry, sensitive. Let's make it true because it's actually sensitive. Okay. So let's format this so it aligns properly. Then the next variable we created again was our AWS secret key, right? For description, let's copy this. Okay. The type is still string. Remember, we put it in a string. Then sensitivity. Okay, sensitive. We put true because the credential is sensitive. Let's format this. Then our last variable was our key name. Okay, key name. Although I've not specified it, but I'll specify it right away now. Our key name. So default. What was the name? Terraform auth. Okay. Perfect. So these are the three variables we use export. So these are what so now what this main file we do is we've already given this key's name, all right? So which could be fine in this variable, all right? Perfect. So let's now move ahead to our output. So our output is what we are trying to consider in our output is what we want to see after this configuration has been applied. Okay. So first of all, we want to see the public address. And the next we want to see the instance DNS. Okay. The public DNS of the instance. Perfect. Perfect. Now we've completely set up our main.tf. We've set up our output, the output we want to see. Sorry. And also our variable, which is the environment variable we set, right? Perfect. Next, you click on Terraform init to initialize your configuration, okay? So we are waiting for it to initialize. So just a brief explanation, when you run this Terraform init, okay, it sees the stage for your what? For your Terraform project. Okay, so now this downloads the provider plugins. So in this case, we are using AWS. So this Terraform init will download what? The AWS plugins from what? From the Terraform registry. Okay, so this step is very important before you execute your Terraform command. So you need to do this before executing any other Terraform command, right? Perfect. So this will take a moment. Perfect. Next, let's run Terraform plan. Okay. So basically, this Terraform plan will give you a preview of what Terraform will apply, the configuration you've written, what it will apply on your AWS provider. Okay. So you can see Terraform plan as a dry run or a preview. Okay. It doesn't actually create anything yet, but it tells you what Terraform will do. This command is very helpful for reviewing changes before committing them. Okay. So let's quickly run this command. Perfect. So let's quickly look at a preview, okay, of our Terraform plan. Okay, so it just gives you a preview. So you see our AMI, see, it was able to pick it, which correlates with what we have here. Perfect. So yeah, we are using our T2 micro for our instance type. So this is more just like a preview. So this is our security group. So we've gained access to port 22 from our, so perfect. So everything is correct. So finally, what we need to do now is to what? Is to apply. So Terraform apply. So before we click on this Terraform apply, I want you to understand that before you do Terraform apply, you should make sure that everything in your Terraform plan is as expected. Okay. So once this is satisfied, running this Terraform apply brings your infrastructure to life. Okay. This command will now create your EC2 instance, configure the security group, and run your user data script to deploy the Node.js application. But before we do that, let's quickly go to our EC2 instance. As you can see here, there's no EC2 instance running here, all right? So we'll be using Terraform to automate the deployment process. So the Terraform apply will do what? It will create the EC2 instance here, and also it will deploy the simple Node.js application on the created EC2 instance, right? So let's click on Terraform apply. This will take some minutes. So it will bring out this dialog box. It's asking you, it's trying to confirm if you should approve this. So you type yes. Perfect. You see, it's creating our security group now. And it's also creating our EC2 instance. Perfect. Our security group has been created successfully. Are you seeing how seamless Terraform is? Very good. So this is the output as specified in our what? In our output file. So it has outputted what? The DNS and also the public IP address of our server. So let's double check this. Let's go back. Let's refresh. Perfect. So let's confirm the IP address if they are the same. So you go to security, you click on this. This is our instance. Our instance is now running. You click on details. So these are our public address. So let's confirm .88. .88. Perfect. So you've seen how Terraform is very seamless. Now we've successfully used Terraform to deploy our Node.js application on this EC2 instance. We've created the instance. So for me to confirm if our Node.js application has been deployed inside this EC2 instance, the next thing we need to do is we need to SSH into this instance. Okay. Now for you to SSH into this instance, you click on connect. So we want to SSH into the instance. So we click on SSH client. Then we copy this. Okay. Now we go back to our terminal. Remember, we downloaded our SSH key inside our download directory. So you go to your download directory, cd into your download directory. Perfect. So you write yes. Sorry, let me troubleshoot what might be wrong. Let's quickly go back to our main.tf file. So DevOps is all about debugging, okay? So let's debug where our problem is coming from. So first of all, let's look at our main.tf. Okay, so we did not specify our SSH key. We did not specify it here. Okay, so let's first of all destroy this Terraform we've built. Let's destroy it. Terraform destroy. Let's destroy it. So we did not provide our SSH key here. As you can see from the output, you can see, sorry, from the variable, you can see variable key. Okay, but when you check the main.tf, it wasn't specified here. So just hold on, let's quickly destroy this one we've built. Okay, yes, we want to destroy it. Yes. Now our instance has been destroyed. Okay, we've destroyed it. Let's quickly confirm it. As you can see, no instance is running. Okay, so let's add the key. We forgot to add the key earlier, so let's add the key name. So for the key name, perfect. So let's quickly double check again. So one of the things with cloud is most times you need to double check. Okay, you need to double check all your configuration and confirm that everything is properly set. Okay, so because I did not really check the configuration earlier and we missed this part, so that was why we're having that error when we're trying to SSH into the instance. Okay, so let's do Terraform validate again. Okay, then Terraform plan to get a preview. Okay, let's quickly check. Okay, then let's apply this to create our resources. Terraform apply. Let's accept this. Yes. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So let's go to our instance has been created. You can see the DNS and also the public IP. Let's refresh. Yes, perfect. Okay. Let's click on details. Okay, look at the public IP address 162. Let's double check 162. Perfect. Now let's SSH into this instance. Let's click on connect. Copy. Paste. Yes. Perfect. So we've successfully SSH into this instance. So let's confirm if our Node.js application was successfully deployed. Let's list the directory. Perfect. So this is our Node.js application as specified here. You see, we specified it here on our configuration file. Okay. Now let's cd into this simple application. Let's list the directory. Now let's go into our application, cd into app, and finally, let's start this Node.js application with node server.js. Okay, perfect. Now for we to know if our application is running, let's visit this. Let's copy it, or we can also copy it from here. You can also copy it from here. Go to instance, details, then you copy your public IP address. So let's confirm. So the port is port what? 3000. Okay, perfect. So if you were able to get to this stage, congratulations. So this is our simple Node.js application that we successfully deployed on an AWS EC2 instance using Terraform to automate the deployment process. So what we did was we used Terraform configuration here to create the AWS resource, which is our EC2 instance. Then we use our user data in our AWS EC2 instance to automatically deploy our Node.js application. Okay. So if you face any challenge or if you face any error while implementing this project, I'll be in the comment section. It's best for you to always close any instances or any services you've deployed on AWS when you're no longer using it again. So let's quickly destroy this deployment, okay? So Terraform can also be used to automatically destroy resources that have been provisioned on the cloud, okay? So let's quickly go back to our terminal. Let's exit this. Just press Ctrl C. Let's also exit this. Then we go back to our simple Node.js application. Then we go into our Terraform. Perfect. Sorry, clear. Then you write Terraform destroy. Okay. So you want to always destroy any resources you're not using so that AWS will not charge you. Okay. So let's wait for our resource to destroy. So if you find this, okay, let's click on yes. So if you find this interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe. All the resources that was used for this project will be linked in the description of this video. If you face any challenge, any obstacle, I'll be on the comment section to assist. All right, perfect. So our resource has been destroyed. So to double check, we can come over here and refresh. So you see, perfect. So we've successfully destroyed we've successfully destroyed the resources we created. All right, goodbye for now. See you in the next video.